And how is everybody doing tonight? Wednesday, November 15th, 9 p.m. Eastern. It was a beautiful day here in Madeira Beach. It's pretty much beautiful all this time of the year. It doesn't rain that much right now. It's like a little bit of the dry season after hurricane season. Although I do have to tell you, over the past week, since you saw me on this Facebook Live show last, I don't think that I've been on the phone. I think I set a record for the most hours I've spent on a phone in a week. Talking to a lot of people who I'm sure at least a majority of them are going to be future guests on Unfound. A big conversation that I had regarding the show and where it's going from here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in this show tonight, but I can't give too much away. I'm going to allow the company that I'm going to be working with to do their own press release for that, and then I'll gladly talk to anybody who wants to talk about it. And I see some people join. Joni, Andrea, Leslie, Dorothy, welcome tonight. Thanks. So we got a lot to cover, and I'll explain a little bit more about a couple of these things in a second. But just over the last week, I can't tell you how many hours I've been on the phone. Just a lot. First, I need to point out this shirt that I'm wearing tonight. This was sent to me by a listener. Her name is Diane. She lives in Bloomington, Indiana. You can see it. It's the Firestone Grand Prix. And where is it? St. Petersburg, Florida, and which, of course, I live very close to there. So I'm getting a St. Petersburg, Florida Grand Prix shirt from a person in Indiana. You never know, I guess, what can happen these days. And on the back, I don't know if you can see it. You see that a little bit on the back. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's the back. So I thank her for sending me this shirt. It fit perfectly. And I don't know if she's going to be watching tonight or not, but I will let her know that I wore it. Bloomington, Indiana is important to me for two reasons. One, the guy who was like my older brother growing up, his name is Mickey Morandini. He grew up in Leechburg, Pennsylvania like I did. He grew up right up the street from where I lived. He's about 4 or 5 years. I was in seventh grade when he graduated. If the name rings a bell to anybody. He actually ended up playing baseball for the Phillies and Cubs. He was on the All-Star team at least once. He played in the 1993 World Series. But he went to Indiana University and graduated from there. He went from Leechburg High School to Indiana University in Bloomington. He played on an Olympic team in 1988, got a gold medal, and then went into the pros, had a great career. He was a really good second baseman, and he's a really, really good guy, and I know his older brother as well. First thing about Bloomington, Indiana. Second of all, Bloomington, Indiana, where Diane is from, who sent me this shirt that I'm wearing tonight, was one of my most favorite films was made there, and it's called Breaking Away. It's a cycling movie with Dennis Quaid, Daniel Stern. One of my favorite movies of all time. And it got what? It got an Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay or Best Original Screenplay. I have it on DVD. One of my favorite movies. And Shannon, I see you're there tonight too. How are you doing? Just some announcements. So there you go. Bloomington, Indiana, and a shirt from the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, Florida. Some announcements. Patreon and PayPal. Don't want to forget about those. If you'd like to support the show, contribute to the show, I deeply appreciate it. Any monetary amount is accepted and respected. And I can't thank you supporters enough who have given already. Deeply appreciated. The book's on Amazon. Of course, the ebook and the print edition are out now, getting some nice sales of both. More ebooks are selling than print editions, which makes sense because one is $2.99, the other one is $10.99. But you should check those out. They've gotten some very nice reviews, and I'm in the process of working on Volume 2, both the ebook and the print edition. I think it's going to be a little easier this time around, being that I kind of know what I'm doing now. Hannah, nice to see you tonight. So we got Amazon. If you haven't bought one of the books yet, please do. And then, of course, later in the show, I'm going to give an opportunity to some people to win a book or two. So we got Patreon and PayPal. We have the books on Amazon. The playing cards have not gotten to me yet. 52 cards, 52 cases. The last case being Clinton's case from this past Friday. He made it on to the first deck of 52. We'll get to the next 52. I'll come up with another deck of cards, but the proofs are being sent to me right now so I can check them out and make sure that it looks right. And I designed that myself, just like I designed the books myself. So I'm a jack of all trades, I guess. You're doing everything, and I don't mind it. Maybe I'm a little artistic more than I know. One thing, so we got the cards, Patreon and PayPal and Amazon. And one thing, though, is the opening music is going to be changing. And this has to do with a company who is going to start carrying my program, carrying Unfound, hi Jill, on their site. It is a full-fledged media company with the Associated Press. It's not like a podcast media company. It puts out a newspaper. It's regionally well known. I've had great respect for this business for a long time. And just within the last week, they've asked me if I would mind them playing Unfound on their website. And that's a big opportunity for me. In addition, I'm going to be working with this media organization to start maybe a column once a month regarding missing persons cases in that area of the United States. Very exciting. I could not be more excited than I am right now. I'm going to be working, I think, with some really, really good people. And I can't thank them enough for finding the program, liking the program, and wanting to carry their program Unfound on their website. It's a big deal. And when I'm allowed to tell you more, I will. But it's really good. It's really, really good. I'm really excited. Have I said that enough? I don't know what else to say. I'm looking forward to happening. I'm thinking that it's probably going to start at the beginning of December. We'll just have to see. I'm totally working according to their timeline, which is fine by me. And once they release a press release regarding my podcast, Unfound, on their site, is when I will gladly tell all of you about it as well and tell you a little bit more about what's going to happen. But because of that, I have to change the opening music, which is something also I will tell you the reason for once I can tell you more information. But I just have to change the opening music. So there you go. Those are the announcements. Patreon, PayPal, Amazon, the playing cards, and the big announcement in addition to me having to change the opening music and the closing music because it's the same for Unfound. What do I want to do next? Let's go to a couple questions, and then we're going to hit upon some news, missing persons news, and then I'll talk about the contest for this weekend. This question comes from Rich, and I want to get to it, make sure I get it right. He asked me, who are my influences? Now, I'm not sure exactly what that means. Means maybe, if they mean disappeared, I'm not quite sure. But I can tell you that given, hi Kelly, how are you doing tonight? When I am thinking about Unfound and what I personally do for the program, it's important for me to be a good interviewer. And so what I find myself doing in the spare time that I have is that I don't do a lot of listening to other true crime podcasts. I'm just going to be honest. Okay, I'm just honest. I don't watch TV. I have a TV. I watch DVDs. I'm watching James Bond movies recently while I'm working. But I go on YouTube and I watch a lot of interview shows. I watch Charlie Rose. I watch Jimmy Fallon. I watch, going way back to Johnny Carson. I watch anybody like that doing. I watch some maybe 60-minute pieces like Mike Wallace, people like that, because it's my job on Unfound to be a good interviewer. So those are my influences. When it comes to this program, this Missing Persons podcast, my influences are other people who have done programs in politics or sports. Bob Costas would probably be another good example of me trying to learn to be a good interviewer. How do they phrase their questions? How do they interact with the guests? How do they think on their feet as their guest asks or answers questions, and how do they steer the conversation? That's very important for me to do during Unfound. So hi, Elizabeth. I see you I've joined. Welcome. That's very important to me. The best way for the guest to be the best is for me to be at my best. And it's my job to make the program be what it can be. It's my job. That's my responsibility. It's my job to make sure the interview goes the way it should. So the way that's going to happen is me learning from people who have done it well. Okay, Shannon does have a question. Shannon, how old are the trophies in the background? Love your stuff. Thank you. At least 2 of those trophies are from disc golf tournaments that I've won within the last few years, probably going back to 2015. And one of them is also a trophy I got from drag racing. I used to be in drag racing way back in the day, and I won a competition in drag racing in Pennsylvania in the mid-90s. It's the only drag racing competition I ever won, but that's one of them. So I got 2 disc golf trophies, 1 drag racing trophy, and the other one is from baseball from high school. So a couple of them are kind of old, and a couple of them are very recent. Very recent. And then you can see those discs. That's a piano back there, by the way. Those discs sitting on the piano are important discs that I've collected from some tournaments. So Shannon, thank you for a first time watching live. You got to ask the trophies. 2 are fairly new within the last couple years, and 2 are fairly old. They bring back good memories. 1 from drag racing, and 1 from when I guess I used to be a real athlete. In contrast to now, if you don't know, I'm 47 years old. Good question. Andrea asked me not long before this program started my address to send me stuff. I guess this is appropriate, being that the person, Diane, who sent me this shirt that I'm wearing tonight, it's if you missed it, if you're just tuning in now, it's a Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, Florida shirt. My address, I don't mind giving it out, is 113 140th Avenue, Suite B, Madeira Beach, Florida, 33708. So if you want to send me a t-shirt that you'd like to see me wear for this program, if you have like a high school team or some organization or anything else, because as you know, once I do this video, I download it, it goes on YouTube, it'll be there forever. If you'd like your organization, your high school, your college, or whatever else to get some attention, I'll be more than happy. As long as the shirt is PG or G-rated, I got no problem with that. I'll take a large. A large is always a good choice. So if you're not sure on my size, just send a large if you'd like me to wear the shirt, and I'll wear your shirt for the Facebook Live show. So that's the address, 113 140th Avenue East, Suite B, Madeira Beach, Florida, 33708. Let's go to the contest for this week. So there's a couple questions. I guess I answered like 3 questions, including 1 live. Thank you, Shannon. You said thanks to me. I'm glad I answered your question well enough. Thank you. I just did that off the top of my head. The contest for this week will take place Saturday. Last week's winner, her name was Amy, and she correctly posted a picture of her Kindle with the Jason Jolkowski map on it on Saturday. She ended up winning. She ended up winning a free Volume 1 print edition, paperback edition, with a message from me inside. That's what she won for posting that picture. She said, "Well, I never win anything." And I said, "Well, you won this time." So for this week, if you want to take part in the competition, I got something for everybody this week. Ebook owners, print edition owners, although there's not a lot of those books out there right now, and for those people who haven't bought a book, who maybe, would like to or thinking about it. For the ebook, for anybody who has an ebook out there, I'm going to want a photo, any photo in the ebook of Rosemarie Gayhart. The case, Laurie Travis's sister. Your job will be on Saturday. Once I say a contest starts on Saturday at noon Eastern, your job will be to post a picture of your Kindle with a picture of Rosemarie Gayhart on it. The first person to do that wins. You will get a free Volume 1 print paperback copy signed by me. I will cover the shipping costs, whatever. No matter where you are, in the United States, in Canada, in Europe, wherever. So it's going to be a picture of Rosemarie Gayhart on your Kindle. That's the picture I need. And Jem, I see you just logged on, joined. Welcome tonight. Hi, Jem. For print book people, I know there's not a lot of you out there yet, but we'll see how it goes. For you to win, what the prize is going to be, a free Volume 2 paperback. So if you have Volume 1's paperback, if you win the contest, you get Volume 2's paperback for free with a message from me in it. That's going to be a picture. I need a picture. So you're going to open your book to the pages with the 727 in the Ben Charles Padilla chapter. I need a picture of the jet, any picture of the jet, and you need to post that picture at noon, between noon and 12:15 once I say contest starts. All these contests are starting at the same time. Jem is in Australia, and I think that's 12 hours difference, right, Jem? So that's 9:17 in the morning? Okay. Or somewhere around there? 10:17, 8:17, somewhere around there. Good morning. So for print people, you post a picture of the 727 in the Ben Charles Padilla chapter. You will win a Volume 2 paperback signed by me. And that paperback should be out. It's midday in Australia. I didn't know that, Jem. Okay, thanks. So that all these contests are taking part at the same time. And for non-book buyers, when I announce the contest on Saturday, once again, this contest is taking all at the same time. It's going to be like 12, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of a flurry contest all at one time, a flurry of activity. For non-book buyers, and I'm going to have to trust you on this, you need to post a picture of Christopher Hyde. That's a case I covered in December of last year. You can go on the internet, find a picture of him, download it, and when I announce the picture, the contest starts, the first one to post a picture of him will win a free ebook, Volume 1 ebook, in PDF form, whatever file format that you want, and it'll have a message from me inside. Okay? So those are the contests for ebook people, print people, and non-book buyers as of yet. And the prizes are a Volume 1 signed by me, a Volume 2 signed by me, and a free an ebook with a message from me inside, which I will email to you. So there's the contest. And like last week's winner was Amy, and she won a Volume 1 paperback signed by me. And Allison, welcome tonight. And Hannah says, it's 12:17 a.m. here in London. Thank you for staying up, Hannah. I deeply appreciate it. I've never been there. I hear it's beautiful. And in fact, I can tell you a listener who from Ireland is actually, I think she's going to London this weekend. So you're going to get some tourism dollars this weekend from Ireland. You have to be pleased about that. All right, let's go back to the questions. I'll take one more question. Let's see here. What do we want to do? Question from Jill. This is a good one, and this popped up in a discussion that I had recently. There's a motorcycle. That's a pretty loud motorcycle out there. What kind of people who go missing do you believe do not get enough media attention? This is a little bit of a controversial topic, but I'll take the question. And after a year of doing missing persons cases and looking at the statistics for downloads regarding Unfound and how each episode does, you need to know this. Statistically, anytime I cover the disappearance of a man, downloads are usually down 20%. It doesn't matter if it's what state it is. Doesn't matter anything else. I can tell you, just on average, that covering men's episodes usually gets 20% less downloads, listeners than women's episodes. Okay. It's just, and there's there's a reason that there's a Facebook page called Men Go Missing Too. There is. And I would not say that, and I don't think that has anything to do with me. I publicize every episode the same. And I will cover, I don't care what the gender is. I don't care what the race is, ethnicity. I don't care. I will treat any guest the same. I just do not care. If they want to talk to me, I will talk to them. But so as far as media attention goes, that's the statistic that I see. Now, do I think minorities in the United States, being that most of the almost all the disappearances I've covered have been in the United States, do they not get as much attention? That may be. I don't have enough statistics regarding Unfound to make that decision. Although I will tell you, Nikki McCown, she was a member of a minority. It was a very popular episode. It was downloaded. It's been one of the most popular episodes recently. So, but of course, it helps that she's a woman, and women's episodes get downloaded more than men's episodes. So, her being a woman definitely helps. I think somebody a while ago asked me, why is it that you don't cover more minorities? I will talk to anybody who contacts me. Anybody. I will. I just don't. And the people who help me, you've heard me mention Emily before and a couple other people who help me get in contact with families. They know that as well. We will take all comers, any guests, anytime. I don't care I don't care that men's cases get seem to get downloaded less. I don't care. And as you know, we went about 7 weeks covering all women. Well, we're going to be doing, I think, 2-3 weeks with men, and I think we're going to cover a woman's missing persons case next week. I'll just take the cases as they come. As I said last week, I don't pick the cases pick me. The guests choose to talk to me. So I'll talk to anybody who wants to talk. I don't care. So, but that's what I see from the statistics on Unfound. And somebody mentioned white women syndrome. That may be the case. And in fact, I remember talking to Kelly Murphy last year, and although I don't think it made it into the interview, but I remember talking to her, and she knows that is something that is very real. It is. It's very real. So it just seems to me, I don't know why that is, why men's downloads are different than women's downloads. I don't know. I'm going to have to study it a little more, I guess. Let's go to a little bit of news. Little missing persons, a couple of things that caught my eye in the news since last week. And then we'll go into the case for this week and then finish up the questions. Amelia Earhart made it into the news. There was an article that I think was in the New York Post, among other places, that there is a theory out there that she landed on an island and was deserted there and then was eventually eaten by crabs. Why that story popped up now, I'm not sure. Maybe it could be, what has it been, like 80 years since she disappeared or something like that. I don't know why it necessarily popped up, the story, this past week. I don't know. But it is a disappearance case. It's one that I have followed. There is a site, maybe if you don't know about it, it's called tiger.org, tighar.org. They have a theory as to what happened, that she landed on another island on a reef, and that she and her co-pilot, Fred, forget his last name, died there. Allison, I don't know. I don't believe she was eaten by crabs. If she landed on that island and died on that island, then I'm going to guess at some point maybe some animal of some type might have started to eat her. I guess it's possible. I don't think that's the most important part about her disappearance, though. Her most important most important part is what actually happened. So, hello, Bobby. Nice to see you tonight, Bobby Walker. So Amelia Earhart, it's just a disappearance, and maybe I'll get the guy from Tiger on here sometime, although I will tell you there are some people out there who believe that the Tiger organization is a little shaky, that they're using Amelia Earhart's name to just raise money for themselves. Although they've gone out to the island where they think that she disappeared, it always seems something goes wrong and they don't find anything. So you can check that out for yourself. TIGHAR.org is the site. It's a site that I've been to once in a while, but being that Amelia Earhart is in the news, I thought I needed to mention. I think it's possible that she might have landed on the reef. I think it's possible she might have ditched in the ocean too. I don't know. The other article, and Elizabeth, I'm going to get to your question as soon as I'm done with this next piece. Thank you, Elizabeth, for asking that question. I'm going to get to that. Michelle Parker was in the news because this Friday, November 17th, in Orlando, she disappeared. November 17th, 2011, she disappeared. She disappeared on the very day that she, and I guess it was an ex-boyfriend, ex-husband, Dale Smith, appeared on the People's Court. And it is believed that he caused her to disappear, and it's been a national story today because of the anniversary. It's a disappearance. I'm not as familiar with that one as, say, Jennifer Kessie's, which also happened in Orlando. But I get the idea with Michelle's disappearance that she probably was going to see Dale. Although they were seemed arguing and they were on the People's Court over an engagement ring that she or he lost. She threw it at him and it went over in a balcony or something like that. It seems to me that maybe they went on that program to get attention or something. That's always a possibility with a lot of these talk shows and reality TV shows. And I think that they were probably had some sort of relationship, and I think that she went to meet him that day, and he did something to her. I think that maybe she was having a relationship behind the scenes, and she didn't want to tell anybody because of how it would look. Here, on one hand, you're arguing with him in court, but then you're going over to his place and maybe having sex with him or something. I just don't know. That's what it feels like to me. And it's amazing how that kind of story pops up in so many disappearances where you find out after the fact that the person who disappeared was having a relationship with somebody who allegedly they hated or had a disagreement with. It happens a lot. And in fact, I was just talking to somebody recently about a case that I hope to cover where a guy was seeing a woman he probably shouldn't be seeing given past history. And then he disappeared. And you hear about the facts of the case, and it's like, what was he thinking? Can't talk about it right now. But that's what it feels like in Michelle Parker's case, but it's going to be the 6-year anniversary of her disappearance this Friday. Happened in Orlando, November 17th, 2011. So maybe you'll check that story out. I want to answer Elizabeth's question, who is watching. Do the guests that you are interviewing ever put restrictions on what you can ask them? Yes. They do. The guests on Unfound are totally in charge of what we talk about. And what that means is, the way this works is I will have a conversation with them. I will take notes, and then I'll do my own reading. I put together an outline. When I send the outline to the guest, I make sure they know you are in charge of the information. If there's something in this outline you don't want to talk about, we'll take it out. If there's something that is missing in the outline, we'll put it in. They're totally in charge of the information in the interview. My job is to ask the right questions and to guide the conversation. As you can imagine, I find out a lot of things about families and what's going on behind the scenes over the years and things that is not relevant to the disappearance. So, of course, anything like that is left out. Sometimes what happens is we have a conversation about whether we should name suspects or not. I believe you should, because I believe the public deserves to know who these people are. All we're going to do is we're going to present facts. We're not going to lie. As long as that is the criteria, and that will always be the criteria. We're not lying. We're not. If the facts make a person look guilty, I can't help that. I can't help that. So yes, they do put restrictions on what we could talk about, but there could be to the point where if they're being so restrictive that I don't think, you know, if all they want to do, let's put it this way, if all they want to do is come onto the program and say the date and time and the last place they were seen, I have to make a decision on that. Now, I've not run into something that so bare bones like that. But I've had a couple cases where people didn't want to talk about certain aspects of the disappearance, and in those cases, I could not have that I could not have the person on the program. I'll be honest with you, because I will not perpetrate lies on my listeners, and I will not perpetrate half truths on my listeners. Okay, when they restrict what I can talk about, what they want to cover, yes, it comes up. Frankly, it comes up. But it's only happened a couple of times, because the goal of this program is to solve cases. And if they're going to try to say, no, it couldn't, that can't be, and no, we're not, can't, when I think it's fairly obvious, then I have to think about, as a journalist, am I presenting the facts or not? So yes, sometimes they do restrict. It's obviously, I have not had any problems having guests on the program, and usually I can go along with what they want to do. Okay, that's usually what happens, as you know. Allison says, I was very happy to see you do an episode on Suzanne Lyle. I got a call from Mary about getting some decks of her missing persons playing cards. Well, Allison, I want you to know that you and I have something in common, because I also talked to Mary Lyle today. I just talked to her about 45 minutes ago, as a matter of fact. So there you go. You and I have something in common. Let's see if I can address another question, and then we're going to talk about this week's case. Dorothy, before I came on to the program, asked me, what are the 3 things that people should do if they have a loved one go missing? And I wrote these down fairly quickly. If it were me, it all depends, of course, on the facts. But I think most quickly, if you have access to it, you have to get into that person's cell phone account. A lot of cell phones accounts these days can be accessed on the internet. Hopefully you will have that information. If it's a husband and his wife has gone missing, if a child has gone missing and they have a cell phone, parents usually have access to the account. First thing you do is go to the cell phone account and see if any calls have been made after you believe the person has disappeared. Second of all, if you have access to a bank account, you need to see if the person's debit card, credit card has been used anywhere. That'll be a good idea of getting an idea on, did the person, is somebody else using the credit card, and where are those places? And third, and I think I mentioned this on a prior Facebook Live show, you have to start, if you believe that foul play could be a part of a disappearance, you have to seriously start thinking about who might have done it. And you must include everybody, no matter how helpful they're being. If it's useless, even if a husband, if you think that the husband did something to the wife, no matter how helpful the husband is being, you have to start seriously being objective. You can, if he doesn't end up being the perpetrator and the wife comes home the next day for whatever reason, there's the rest of your life to apologize. Okay? But at that time, you have to be suspicious of everybody. That's just the way it is. And once again, I would access the bank account. I would access the phone account if you have access to them. And you have to start thinking about if foul play was involved, who might have been the perpetrator. Those are the 3 things I think you have to think about. Meg asked me, and I think this is the last question for the night. Meg asked me, would I cover a case in Australia? Yes. Undoubtedly, yes. I will cover, I've already covered a case in Africa. So yeah, I'd love to, as long as I could cover it in the way that I cover all the other cases, having access to a family member, somebody who really knows the case. Would probably have to talk over Skype because talking over the phone would get a little expensive. But if we could talk over Skype or some other app like that, sure, absolutely. Australia, Europe. I'd personally love to do the Trevor Dealey case in Ireland sometime if I could have access to his family if they're willing to talk. I'd love to do that Ireland case. It doesn't have to be American citizens. Doesn't have to be in the United States. Jessie Foster was not an American citizen, but she was in the United States, and Charles Badilla was in Africa. So sure, Meg, to answer your question, absolutely. Australia, if you have some ideas, please send them to me. So the case for this week, I think because being that Veterans Day just occurred a few days ago, it was Saturday, we are going to be covering the disappearance of a veteran. His name is Troy Galloway. He disappeared in Sonora, California on January 13th, 2016. So it's a very recent case, much like Chip Campbell's case or Amanda DeGuio's case, they both also disappeared in 2016. I'm interviewing his mother, Nancy. What a pleasant woman. Got along with her great. She did a great job. I think you're really going to like the interview that I did with her. She knows a lot. She's done a lot since Troy has disappeared. And truthfully, the disappearance of veterans, at least in the United States, don't get enough attention. If we think that in the general population in the United States, a lot of people disappear, it's even a higher percentage in the military. Of course, a lot of military members have PTSD because of serving in Afghanistan or Iraq, and then that condition can lead to other issues, other mental issues, drug addiction, which then makes them more likely to disappear. It's just the way it is. And I think that, I talked about last week, 40% of the cases that Unfound has covered have something to do with drugs. And unfortunately, in Troy's case, I think it could be the case as well. The title of the episode, Jen, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining us tonight on this live show. I see you there. We're going to be using Latin for the first time on this program. The title of the episode is Nemo Residio, which is a saying that goes way back to the ancient Greece, or the saying. Well, it's actually Latin, so that I guess would be the Romans. But in any case, what it means in Latin is "no man left behind," and that is a motto for many military organizations, not just in the United States, but across the world. So this episode is called Nemo Residio, meaning no man left behind. And in this episode, not only does it mean for military members, both men and women, but for missing persons, people in general. No man or woman who has disappeared should be left behind. And I'm going to try to get that point across in this episode. Now, regarding Troy's case, he had an argument with his wife, and he stormed out, and he was never seen again. And she ended up, his wife, her name is Kelsey, ended up letting Nancy know a couple days later. And there's just some suspicious behavior, activity that has been noted before Troy disappeared and since he disappeared. Could he have just run off? Could he have overdosed and somebody covered it up? Was there actually foul play involved in this case? And like always, I'm going to leave you, the listener, to decide. I'm going to try to cover the case as objectively as I can, and you will ultimately be the one to try to figure out what happened in this case. And I really hope that I can cover more missing veterans cases. I'd love to do that. So if you know any missing veterans, you know their families, there actually is a website, missingveterans.com, that I would hope have those people contact me. I want to try to help these people, so I'll see what I can do. But this week is the disappearance of Troy Galloway, Nemo Residio, meaning no man left behind. He was a U.S. Marine, and I think it's fitting to do this one this week because Veterans Day in the United States was just a few days ago. So what do we have going on here in the discussion before I finish up? Andrea says, yes, Ireland, Scotland, England cases. Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, Andrea, mentioned Ireland, Trevor Dealey's case. That's one that comes to mind off the top of my head. And Allison says, of course, Kelly Bordeaux and Shadow McLean. I've seen their names. I've seen their names on the missingveterans.com site. At least Shadow's name. Got plenty of coverage. I'm glad you're covering a lesser-known missing person, missing service member. Thank you. Thank you, Allison. Troy Galloway does have a Facebook page that I hope you'll all go and join and check it out before Friday. I linked to it in the group, so you can find it there. Stan, welcome. Unfortunately, I think this is only going to be on for a couple more minutes, but Stan, welcome tonight. You could catch the earlier part of the program, I guess, when it's posted on Facebook and on YouTube. But probably, Allison, going back to a topic from earlier in the program, it could be that those cases get more attention because they're women. I just see it in my own statistic with Unfound. It's about a 20% difference. So there you go. I think we covered everything that I needed to cover. We're about 42 minutes in. We got to the news. I answered some questions from Jill, from Meg, from Dorothy, from Rich, from Andrea, and gave up my address if you'd like me to send me a T-shirt. Allison, white women, that may be the case. Although I would say, on the other hand, that Nikki McCown, who is not white, her episode was very popular. It's been downloaded, I think, one of the most downloaded episodes in the last 2 months. And maybe it helps that it was on Disappeared. That's possible. But she, I think, is mixed race. And so white women, for me, what I've seen, just women in general, we could go back to Clea Hall's disappearance going way back to May. Another popular case. It was her race was not a factor in downloads at all. Her race was not. It seems to me at this point to be very gender specific, but I'm always willing to look at the statistics somewhere down the road and make another assessment. That's all I can tell you after a year. After 52 cases, that's what I can tell you. There's a definite difference between men and women. Just haven't covered enough to really break it down by ethnicities yet. So I see Leah coming in here at the last second. I think we got everything. Yeah, Allison says she's obsessed with, I'm guessing, Nikki McCown's case too. Yeah, that's one that so many suspects in that case, for sure. And then there's Anthony. Anthony, welcome. Anthony, who is a guest on this program, former guest on this program for the Tammy Leppert case, and he and I talk often. But I'm going to be going because we've covered all the material. It's been a pleasure talking to you tonight. Friday, the disappearance of Troy Galloway. Remember, PayPal and Patreon, Amazon, and I promise you that when I can announce what's going to be happening with Unfound, with a major news organization, news business, I will do that. But I want to assure you, the program, the podcast will not be changing at all, except the music. But I'll explain the reason why that is when I can tell you a little bit more about what's going on. But I'm going to be signing off now. Thank you all for joining. I can see Stan, Allison, Lee, Anthony, Bobby. Let me see. Can I scroll up here somehow? I don't even know. But everybody who asked questions tonight and took time out of their evening to see this Facebook Live program, I appreciate it. and you'll hear me all on Friday, and I will see you on the page, in the group, on Facebook, maybe on Twitter, on Instagram as well. Everybody, I hope you have a great night. Signing off for now, Ed Densel, host of the Unfound podcast.